Alright, so we're going to restore an old Tamiya Clodbuster. This is a vintage Clodbuster. You can see the red has been painted by the original owner, I'm guessing. And there's not much. I mean, the glass, not bad. That could be polished up, you know. And then roll bar is broken in several places. And the only thing and this is what I have left of the body. And the only thing I think I'm going to use, and again, I don't even know, is this early grill. Now, this is not the earliest form of the grill, but it is a transitional piece. What I mean by that is your early ones had the Chevy bow tie. And somewhere along the line, Tamiya got into some sort of squabble with General Motors. And they had to drop the bow tie. So this is still a very early grill. And I think the bumpers, even off the Super Clodbuster, are still the same. And the tailgate, not sure. Again, I don't know if I'm going to use this. I've already pulled out the old mechanical speed control because I just don't have a use for that. And as you can see here, I went through front and rear axles, replacing these bushings with some Avid ceramic bearings. And that's already an upgrade. What do I need to replace? Well, it's interesting. There's a lot of broken pieces. For starters, got this big chunk out of this chassis here. That mounts something, I'm guessing the rear bumper. And so that's broken. Then this is missing, this cross brace. And this body post here is broken. And you have this cross brace, but it too is broken. There, as you can see. So that's broken. That's not useful. Servo, I don't even know if it works. I don't know if any of these electronics work. But the servo tray here, this electronics tray, is in really good shape. And here, this is broken. Where are these? Right there. Right there. So we got some new ones of these. I'm going to use as much of the old stuff as I possibly can. Our servo saver here was broken, and I'll show you that here in a second. Okay, so you see this was the servo saver here, and it had this piece went like that. Well, not anymore because it's broken. And this piece here, this ties this to here, this chassis. This support, I'm not sure what you call that, but it ties it to the motor casing. Well, this one was broken. Here's the other piece to it, right there. And just trust me, there were a lot of broken parts on here. And the problem with that is each one of those broken parts that I showed you, they all didn't come on the same tree. They all came on different trees. So luckily for me, Tamiya still produces the Super Clodbuster, which is exactly the same. There are a few differences I have noticed. I'll point those out real quick, and then we'll get underway here. This axle has already been taken apart, cleaned, and bearings put in throughout. As on the ends, they have bearings in them now too. So we're going to set this aside. The red is coming off because we're going to be using blue. So let me set that aside. All right, so first things first, I'm going to cut here, clean up, and pull out the parts that we have new. And I'll be right back. All right, let's have a look at some of the parts that I got. First things first, we have our new tub. Brand new. I paid $1.20 for this. Of course, I'm exaggerating. There was shipping involved. However, it was $1.20, and the shipping actually wasn't bad on this. But I bought all of this from the same seller on eBay, so I saved a huge ton of shipping. So this is all brand new. This is, and because I was missing a rear bumper and my red plastics were painted, I had to buy twin trees of this, because with the Clodbuster, everything in the front is the same as the back. So now it's going to be blue. And I will be hanging on to my old red parts, which means I got to redo all of these red shocks into the blue. So those are the new parts as well. We're going to be going with the chromies, because these old ones were painted. But I am going to be using the tires, and they're not glued on these rims, which is nice. Clodbuster doesn't have enough power to spin these wheels inside these tires, so I'm glad they didn't glue them on. What else we got? Okay, so why do we buy this? Oh, I'll tell you why we bought this. We needed, this is what I'm talking about, having to buy entire trees because things are broken. So we needed this piece right there and the servo saver off of this. As we pointed out earlier, that was broken, so we needed this. In the end, we're gonna have a ton of extra parts, which is always good for an old Tamiya plastic. All right, screws. New speed control, which has LiPo cutoff, and it handles twin 2 brush motors. So as you know, Clodbuster has motor on axle, front and rear. More screws, fresh screw bags, and these plates. These plates here, I want to point something out here. The early Clodbuster, these balls here, right here, they just were captured with a nut on the other side. Now, with a Super Clodbuster, as of 2004, nuts are not required. Use these plates, and the screws or ball nuts go right into the plate itself, actually distributing the stress point, which I think is much nicer, much superior than the original. What else do we have? Oh, manual, $1 instruction manual, $1, brand new, nice. So this is all the parts of the body, the chrome, the bumpers, the everything. This is the window, and here is our Chevy body. And yes, the stickers are here as well. Now that we have got a rundown of everything, and there's a sticker sheet right there. Not exactly sure I want to use that Wolverine style character. Maybe I can just cut that out if I don't like it. I don't know. Anyway, let's get to work here. Get that body out of there. Let me get organized and I'll be back. So I just pulled out this servo. This servo handles front and rear steering. And I was doing a little reading. And it says, well, this servo I'm not using. Yes, it tested fine, but God, is it old. It's an old Futaba S148, so that dates it right there. But it says if I use a longer servo horn, I'll get more throw on the steering. So I am going to go ahead and give it a try. But I'm not going to use this servo. I'm going to use this waterproof steel gear. This is a high torque. It's not ultra fast, but man, it's a high torque from Savox. And I think we'll be happy with that. Complete steel gear. I mean, it just feels like quality. So we're going to use that in place of the old S148 Futaba. So now let me get my manual open and find a point to start, and we'll get to it. Okay, I set up my electronics real quick. I found the dead center on my steering servo, and checking my motors. steering. Okay, so that's all we need to do there for the electronics. Let's see if I can source a longer servo horn. That's one thing I needed to do. Well, I have one, but the problem is it's gonna crash against the bottom of that chassis. So I guess I'm gonna have to use this one. Yes. Yes. All right, so I'll pop these off. Hell, even these are loose. Look at this. Just gotta tighten those up too, I guess. I need another screwdriver. Yeah, this is the one. Pull you over here. I don't need that, I don't think. 25 spline? I believe so. Oh yeah. It's about as good as you're gonna get it. You want that set at a 90-degree angle with the servo centered on the throttle, on the remote. It's about as close as we're gonna get it. So just back down here like so. I'm not gonna bore you with a lot of this, so as a matter of fact, I'll come back. There we go. Wow, that's not long. There we go. There we go. Tighten those up. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and cut it. I'll bring you back when I got something to show you. Okay, something interesting here that I've discovered. All right, anyway, I got my balls on my chassis. I want to take a pause for a moment and explain something. So, changing out the links on the steering. Well, interesting. One of these were correct. Let me bring you over here. If you look down here, this step right here, that's your steering linkage. And then you can see they snap into the servo. Well, one of these were too short. So whoever built this initially had one of these on there for the steering. That's clearly a tie rod for an axle. You can see how short it is right there. So it's a good time to remedy that and double check everything as we go. But now the steering is correct. So this entire life of this truck, steering's always been probably goofy because, well, one of the rods was way too short. So glad we fixed that. All right, real quick, got the chassis braces done, body mounts, a couple stickers they told me to put on as I was going. Oh, and I'm gonna guess that is the front bumper right there. Moving on, I'll give you a quick update. I got the front axle attached. I mean, I have to go through every piece of plastic on this thing. For instance, I went to screw these guys into here thinking I was going to use the older ones, and I noticed they weren't catching. They were just kind of spinning, and I looked and there were splits in the side. The plastic is so old. This is from 87 or 88, so luckily I ordered all those parts over there because I'm replacing them as I go. So basically this is going to be a completely new truck when it's all said and done. Alright, well, back to cracking. Alright, both axles are attached. Moving on. All right, this is how far I've gotten this evening. And, you know, this was almost as if I was building the entire kit, because as I went, I kept finding more and more brittle parts, and lucky for me, I purchased them. And so as I found brittle parts, I was just changing anything that was questionable. So, what's really left on here for the original Clodbuster? Well, the tires, the gears inside the transmission, or the front and rear axles. Oh, and I got this grill here that I will be using. I cleaned it up. Never mind that blue piece, because I won't be using that. I got a new piece for that. And again, I'll have to give a little thought of color I want to use. And again, I'm just tired. I'm done. We'll get back at this later. All right, well, I didn't do a lot of filming, but we are done. I chose to go with a candy apple red on my body. And I will include a small running video in the backyard. It's interesting that I managed to maintain as many parts as I possibly could from the original 1987 Clodbuster, including this grill. This is obviously a little bit later than 87 because there is no Chevy badge here. So somewhere along the line, like I said, Tamiya had it fallen out with General Motors and wasn't able to put that bow tie on there. But this is still a very desirable grill for the Clodbuster, so I'm glad I was able to use that and actually got that in the deal. But even the body and all of these parts say Tamiya 1987, so nothing has changed. This wasn't a vintage body I bought. It just came with the updated blower, the Super Clodbuster stickers, the updated stickers for that. So this body was from at least between 2004 and now. So I'm not exactly sure which version this came from, but there you are. Much shorter antenna because I'm running 2.4 gigahertz in here. And I'm running a Traxxas on my Traxxas system, the TQI. You can do up to so many models on this car. And you just bind it to one and it doesn't matter. It just remembers the car, which is really nice. And it's got good range. Not able to source the original red colored bumpers. I just couldn't find them. I'm sure they were not very, very expensive because I know the re-release of 2004 had red bumpers, so I just couldn't find them. So I chose to maintain the red shocks, which were original to the truck, and anything that I felt had a hairline crack or anything in it, I replaced with the blue. Better safe than sorry. But I did keep the parts. Yeah, so I think this will conclude my documentary on restoring a vintage Super Clodbuster, or Clodbuster, now a Super Clodbuster. Kind of a hybrid with that grill in there. Yeah, enjoy the run video.